Hi everybody. Today we're gonna be talking about how I rig my sails and set them up, and we'll also visit a mate later. I have the membrane sails from Avanti. They rig in a certain way, and I guess most of you will be on monofilm sails, film sails, and I have a good mate, and he has just gotten his Severne Mark 4, I think it's called. So later in the day I'll be catching up with him, and he'll has agreed to be a part of the video, and he will show how he rigs his Severne race sails, and I'll show how I rig mine, and come with all the tips I have gathered. That's just how I do it, and of course there's many different ways to do different things, and please make a comment on how you do it. If you see something I have forgotten or anything, please let me know, because the more we share, the better we all get. And maybe we'll do a sail trim video point 2 at some point. But today we'll just start with the Avanti sails. So today we'll be rigging my Avanti machine 9.2, and I'll just give you some tips about how, if you get a new slalom sail, what to do. And yeah, the one thing you can trim on from the beginning is of course the batten tension, and also the spacers for the cambers. And of course we all want the smoothest, easiest rotation we can get, but we still want some pressure on the battens to get some stability in the sail. So we just roll the beast. Pretty big. I don't know if you can see it, I always prefer to keep the batten tensioner key in the pocket for the rope. In that way you always have it on the water, and I use the same key to tension my fin, so I don't have to run to the car to get a tensioner. I can check if my fin is loose on the beach. It's pretty nice, it saves a lot of time, and you always have the chance to fiddle a little around with your batten tension when you're in the water. But before we put the mast in, or at least before you put the cambers on the mast, if you get a new sail, you have to tension the battens up front. This isn't a new sail, so I won't. I have tensioned them up front, and that's because when you get to here, you have this very narrow, flat sail pin, so you can get the profile in the front. And if you don't tension your battens in advance, and you put the cambers on the sail and you then tension them, it's only for the first run setup. You will have so much tension because of the curve that the batten tension will actually lie here and not all the way, so you won't get any stretch on this part of the sail, on the pocket, and you will have a lot of tension here, and it's actually bad for the sail. So also, if you've seen other videos, they always say put some tension on the battens before you rig it completely. You can fine tune it when you have done it, but put some tension on from the beginning. Just you get a feel for it. But there should be an epic fail, just tilting the camera because of the wired microphone, but it makes the sound so much better, so we'll just go on. But in order to have nice camber rotation, of course you need batten tension. The bottom three can easily take some tension. It's the most for stability, so I put some tension on them before I put the mast in. For speed sailing, I tension them quite a lot. You get like so much more stability, and you get the deeper profile when running deep downwind, but only for speed sailing, never for slalom sailing, because you kill the rotation completely. You can put so much tension on it, the sail stands perfect, really deep, really good for speed, but it has no rotation. You have to help it with the hands all the time. It doesn't matter if you're on a speedboard. So for speed, I really put a lot of tension before I put the mast or snap the cambers on the mast. But for this particular sail, there's some tips for rotation. It's almost always the bottom one that doesn't want to rotate. So usually I remove all spacers from this one, not all that much tension. And then if it won't rotate, you can put a spacer on this one. It will release some of the pressure from this one. And with this sail, I have tried it a couple of times. So I know that there's too much pressure on the bottom one still. So what you can do, you can take the camber out like this. You can use some round files, and then we just quickly do like this. Just take 1 mil or 2 mil off. And then a smoother one, just even things out. And it doesn't take long, so I always bring these two. They aren't in my toolbox, they are in my car. So I can, if I have a sail, bad rotation, I try to just a little bit on the battens and the spacers. I can always go to the car, take a little bit off this way. So we'll put this back on. Yeah. So you have to experiment a little bit in order to get a really good rotation going in your sail. Usually, as I said, last bottom 3 battens can easily take some pressure, and then the other ones just to get the wrinkles out of the sail. And then some say, especially if you're doing figure 8 slalom, might want to put a little bit more on the top batten to have it a little more closed. That's better than if you have to go a little bit of height, as you have to do in figure 8. And also if you're caught in dirty air, if you don't get the perfect start, if you ain't leading from the start. Of course I know you are, I'm not. So I put a little more tension on the very top batten. Should work a little bit better in the dirty air. I don't know if it does, it's hard to tell, but when you have heard a tip and you use it, it usually works. It's probably all mental and placebo, but anyway, so test it out, find out if it works. I'm not always get the perfect start, so for me it's nice to know that my sail will handle dirty air very well, so I have a chance to get back up through the rankings. Yes. So now I just rig the sail. Wondering how the spacers look. These are the ones for the Avanti sails. You can put 1 or 2. They fit over top of each other, and then you put the camber on, and then you have some more tension. Yeah. So of course you unroll the sail completely, then we go to the mast. What's important here is that you slide the mast over the cambers all the way, and then you make sure that you're all the way that it's that the top is sitting nicely. That's the first thing you check. Right now I'm not all the way, so I'll do that now. So always check the top of the mast, and then check the connection, that there's no that the two parts of the mast haven't separated. And then I put the downhaul in and give a little bit of tension. So now we have a little bit of tension, and then I go to check the connection of the two mast parts again. I think this is a very important step if you like your masts. Yep, it's perfect. Then I just downhaul the sail until around that I'm missing like this part. And then I'll snap the cams on. I'm starting with the middle ones and then the bottom one in the end. And now the cambers are on, then I fully downhaul the sail. With this sail, I ain't true to what I've told in my other videos. I actually haven't found a setting where this goes block to block. I'll be talking with a guy that has invented a mast extension where you can always go block to block. That interview will be coming up. We haven't done it yet, but it will be coming up. But now I downhaul the sail to my settings. So the downhaul is important. You have to have enough. Now you can see mine is almost wiggling all the way to in the top half, all the way to the mast sleeve. And what I've found, or what I've learned from Anders Boy, who's the world cover for Avanti, is that you would like to have just a little bit of looseness in this part of the leech. It shouldn't be very loose, just a little bit of looseness, and mine has a little bit too much tension now, so I'll just give it half a cm more downhaul. And so now we have a little bit of looseness up there, and talking about downhaul, that's always the important question about slalom sails. You want some tension. Without enough downhaul, your sail won't work. Too much downhaul, you get too much lift on the front foot. That's pretty counterintuitive, but actually if you over downhaul your sail, you will have a sail that twists too much in the middle. It will almost be cut in half. You'll have too much pressure on the windward rail. So don't over downhaul your sails. But also if you get into high winds, it's actually an advantage to release a little bit of downhaul, so you get a little bit firmer, so you don't have the tendency to fly so much away. But it's better just to take a size smaller or work with the outhaul. I think that's the most easy way. Put the boom a little bit down. But yeah, the outhaul. Now we are missing the boom. So I'll just see if I can get the microphone without tilting the what should you call it? The camera settings again. So just put it here. Yes. And on the Avanti sails we have this quick release system, which I find very helpful. Yep, sorry about that. Yeah, but we'll put this on, and then hopefully nothing more will happen. I just think we'll put it here. So Avanti has this snap-on system. I'll show you some close-ups, which works really well. So you can easily switch between the different outhaul settings, and as you can see, this is a little bit tilted. So if you move down a bit, you can give 2 cms more of extra outhaul. It's therefore it's for higher winds. And also if you go down here, you get a more loose leech. So we'll just give it a little bit of tension. I really hope the sound is okay. And some tensions up here. So your standard setting for light wind, I would say, would be that you want to have the sail, if it gets fully, it can just barely touch the boom here on the widest point. And you can see this one is, it gets to touch. So For a little bit higher wind, I would probably put 2 cms more on the boom or go one step lower. I have to experiment with this. This is like the 5th or 6th time I rigged the sail. Usually I go foiling in such light wind, but I used it this weekend, and it's actually a great sail to sail with. It's fun when it's low tide and you don't want to damage your foil. So I run with positive outhaul tension. It works for Avanti sails. I know my mate on duotone also uses it, and his sails just feel like they are just super stiff, and they're not the quickest to get on the move, but once you get on the move, they just accelerate forever and nothing moves around. So I'm trying to copy him a little bit, but it will be interesting to hear from Jonas on the Severne sails what he's doing on outhaul settings. So that's the outhaul. Downhaul, I just want one sweet spot, and then just adjust on the boom instead, and not touch the outhaul. That's also much easier options when you are racing. And yeah, as I said, the bad intentions, you can look for wrinkles. There's a little bit in this one right now, so maybe a little bit more on this one. Yeah, that's how I rig my sails when I de-rig. I'll just show in the video. First, take off the boom, and then pop up, release some downhaul, pop off the cambers, release the downhaul completely, take it out, roll it up. Yeah, and I hope this is useful, but always play around with the settings, play around with the spacers on the cambers, take something off the bottom camber or any camber that has too much pressure, and yeah, and of course now we forgot to talk about the tack strap, and we'll just do that right now. Sorry. So now we'll see if we don't tilt it all again. So the tack strap is this one, and if you're new to slalom sails and you only have been doing free ride or wave like I had, this is a new addition. And yeah, what does it do? It tensions the lower part of the sails. You can get a bit more shape down here. If you watch Nico Priem, I highly recommend his channel. He has some very good tips, and he's a pro windsurfer. I'm an amateur, so I get a lot of my tips from him. Thank you a lot, Nico, and thanks for the sails I've bought from you during the time. When I was trying with New Pride sails, they have too much power for me, too much lift. Never worked for me, but works for Nico. You can see here I have this strap, goes around the mast foot, and you can tension it, and then you get some shape down here. And I've seen Nico, he actually treats it almost like a downhaul, puts his foot against it, and really pulls very hard, and that gives you the power down here where it's nice and controllable. Some say it will ease the cam rotation, some say it won't. I'm a little bit in between. I put some tension on it. I don't go all the way as Nico, because I think this part starts to fold on the Avanti sails. I don't know on other sail brands. So that's the tack strap. So now hopefully in a couple of hours I'll meet up with Jonas, and I'll do the how to rig a Severne sail. Semi-pro tips. He's a Danish champion. Now I'll just show you how the sail is working, how it's looking. So you see we have nice loose leech all the way down, and nice shape down here. And down here it doesn't. Here you would like to have a lot of shape, because down here it's easy controllable. Shape up there isn't controllable. Shape down here you can have as much as you want almost. Doesn't matter, it's easy to control because the center of gravity is low. So yeah, I will de-rig now, and you can just close up of the quick release. this, and you have like the 2 rows here for the rope, and it snaps into place just like that. So this is my mate Jonas, I was telling you about earlier. Jonas, how old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
And how many times have you been Danish champion?
About 10 times in the junior and youth divisions.
Cool. So you're a pretty good surfer.
Yeah, you can argue that.
Yeah, you are quicker than me, so you win most of the time. So pretty good, I think. And you are a team rider for Starboard and Severne?
Yes.
On what level?
On national level. I just moved to Starboard and Severne last season, and I'm so happy to be with the brands. Last season we didn't have much competition, but this season I'm really looking forward to put the sails to use in the international events as well as in the Danish events.
Super. And you just got your new sails?
Yeah, I just got them here last week after a long waiting time, so I'm just so happy to finally have them and to show them off today.
Yeah, cool. And you actually sold your old sails a bit too soon, maybe?
Yeah, very too soon. I sold them back in December, so I haven't had any sails for the last 4 months or something like that. So it's been a really long winter here in Denmark. So I'm just happy to have some new sails and get back on the water.
Super. And today we'll be rigging the
Match 4, 9-4, brand new from Severne.
Yeah. And we'll just get your tips on how you do it, this first run setup. Yeah. And then hopefully there's enough wind so we can go on the water and do some lineup. Yep. Jonas, do you do anything before you put the mast in for the first time?
No, for the first time I don't do anything except just roll the sail out and put the mast in, and then I see how it looks, and then I feel how it looks in the water, and then I start adjusting and trimming my sail. Maybe I do some batten tunings before I go out the first time. That's often quite good to do, but I like just to rig it up the way it came from Severne. This season, Severne has made their sails much more high aspect, so they look a little bit more like foil sails. And if you take a look here at the mast and the extender, then I actually use the same settings for my 8.6. I've already tried that once, but then the boom is just wider, so that's what makes it a bigger sail. Yeah, on the 9.4 than on the 8.6.
So the smallest, the big one has a longer boom than all the smallest sizes. So
yeah, so that's not as high aspect as the other ones, but if you take a look at the 8.6 and down, the sails are quite high aspect, and they feel pretty good. The one time I've tried it, but the 8.6 feels pretty good. That was in definitely 9.4 wind. Casper was on the foil, but it was going and it was planing, and so I look forward to try this sail as well.
It was foil wind for 8.5 that day, so Jonas was pumping like crazy. Jonas, now I've seen you trimmed your downhaul for the first time.
Yeah.
It had a bit too much in the beginning, and then you changed the settings. Are you a block-to-block guy? Do you always try to achieve that so you can find the same trim the next time you go on the water?
Yeah, I try to find the same trim every time I go on the water, but it also, of course, depends on the conditions. If I'm racing flat water or choppy water and so on. But the first time I go on a sail, I'm more like I just want to get it trimmed in fast. So it's so difficult to say because all the guys say only do one thing at a time when you're trimming, and that is true. Only do one thing at a time. But the first time you go in the water, it's okay to also adjust both the downhaul and the pins and the outhaul and everything. Yeah. But from there on, only trim one thing at a time. Okay. Now if you take a look at the sail, see I have given it some good downhaul, and I would like to adjust the pins a little bit before I go and try it. Give some more tension on these ones, and the third one from the bottom as well. So let's try that.
So I just seen you tension your battens, and earlier today, as I was talking about the Avanti sails, I said the bottom three I give quite a lot of tension because it's down where I want the draft and the depth in the sail, and up in the top I don't give that much. What do you think? Do you give a lot down in the three lower ones?
Yeah, it's the same for me. I give a lot on the lower ones, and on the upper ones I don't give so much. At least not the first time. I like it to be easy for the sail to let the wind get out of it when you're going in the high speeds, and have the bottom quite deep, so you can get some good acceleration. So I think I'll go with this setup now, and then we will see how it feels on the water.
Yeah. But as a semi-pro, you just have to put some stickers in for the sponsors, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'll film that so they are happy. So you were talking about you trench your trim after it's flat or if it's choppy.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
If it's choppy waters, I like to get my boom down, so it will keep the nose of the board down, so it's not just flying too much around, and also the mast foot in the front that puts the weight in the front of the board, so it will keep the nose down. And then the sail, I like to give it more downhaul, so the sail doesn't feel so heavy when you're going in the choppy waters. You like to be light so you can fly over the chops but still have the power.
But still you take the boom down to get the board not flying so much, but you give some more downhaul to make the sail fly a little bit.
Yeah, you know, it's a little bit complicated to say. I take the boom down so the nose doesn't fly.
Yeah.
But I take the downhaul out of the sail, of course only if it's windy. Yeah. I take the more downhaul, so I can lay higher on the water, but not higher with my nose. Lay higher on the water and on the fin.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and for the record, when Jonas is sailing, he is flying almost as much as Nico Prien is. So he's barely touching the water. So it makes a lot of sense that you want the board to be trimmed a little bit flatter for the choppy water, but still flying, so you don't hit the chop as much.
Exactly.
Yeah, super. Put the stickers in, let's go sailing.
Yes.
So we forgot about the tack strap, Jonas. What's the deal with the tack strap?
I don't know, some people like it to just have a very stiff sail in the bottom, and some don't.
And how about you?
I for once a bit in the middle. I haven't used the tack strap so much, but I think this year is going to be my tack strap year. So I'm going to try it now, just to give it full power here and see how this is, see how it's working.
Se om lyden kommer ned. So 2021, year of the tack strap, everybody.
I think so.
Go for it.